I'm Dr. Rachel Griffiths, and I'm with my father and partner in aquatics,
Dr. Tom Griffiths.
Welcome to the Drowning Files, where each week we share a lawsuit we've been involved in or another true story with suggestions to learn from these tragedies to save lives. What case do you have today?
Well, today's case is another news story. Again, we were not involved with this as a lawsuit, but independently of one another, as you know, Rachel, we both stumbled across this story because it was so strange and at the same time so horrific. What we have in this particular case is an above-ground pool where apparently a 2-year-old child drowned or was drowning, and the grandparents entered the pool and drowned in addition to the child. Now, the listeners may be a little bit frustrated here because we don't have a lot of the details. We read the media accounts of it, and they were incomplete, to say the least. But if the media reports were correct, it was a triple drowning where the child somehow got into the above-ground pool, and then the grandparents drowned in the pool because, as the police noted, the above-ground pool was 7 feet deep, at least in one section, 7 feet deep. Throughout the United States, anyway, most above-ground pools are limited to just 4 feet deep. And you would think, unless the grandparents were extremely short, if it was a typical above-ground pool, they could have rescued this girl by entering the pool feet first in just 4 feet of water. Another question with these above-ground pool drownings is always, how does a 2-year-old get into above-ground pool? Because the walls are at least 4 feet above the earth, 4 feet above the yard. And that's one of the safe things about above-ground pools is the side of the pool wall, which is made of aluminum or vinyl, which holds the liner, because it is completely round or circular or square, depending upon the make and model of the pool. The pool wall itself serves as a barrier. And the key to pool safety is to remove the ladder or lock the ladder so that it can't be used to climb up and gain access to the pool. And apparently this wasn't the case. So a very, very tragic story. I believe it happened in the state of New Jersey. And again, you had two unusual factors. Is a 2-year-old was allowed somehow, some way to access a 4-foot wall of a above-ground pool. And then you had the exceedingly deep 7-foot above-ground pool, which is highly unusual. And the way to prevent this accident, again, is to make all above-ground pools a maximum of 4 feet of water, and to make sure that you have a flip-up type ladder or a locking ladder, but never leave the ladder in place, because we have found through experience when a child enters a pool, they often use the ladder, and the parents who lose their child said, well, they were unable to climb a ladder. They didn't know how to climb a ladder. Well, if you put water on the other side of a ladder, a young child is going to learn how to climb it pretty quick. So that's the item that we have for today, Rachel.
And the 4 feet of water wouldn't prevent, well, it depends how young the kids are, but wouldn't prevent little kids from drowning.
No.
It just might help if the parents or grandparents happen to see them in the act, and it can happen really quickly. If they happen to be there, maybe it would help with the adult rescue, but it certainly wouldn't prevent the drowning.
Exactly. And you bring up a good point. Here in the United States, we are misled by our own definition of shallow water and deep water. Here in the United States, we say 5 feet is the magical number. If it's greater than 5 feet, it's deep water. If it's less than 5 feet, it's shallow water. So when we say this is a totally shallow water pool, It misleads parents and children and even lifeguards to believe that this is a safe pool, keeping in mind that here in America, most children don't attain or achieve a height of 5 feet to the very crown, the very top of their head until they're 12. So the safe, shallow 5-foot pool is really deeply dangerous for those under the age of 10, probably 11, probably, if they cannot swim. Certainly for 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, a 5-foot pool is way too deep.
And any house with any type of pool should have isolation fencing, 4-sided fencing, alarms, and other layers of protection.
Right. But I'm glad you said that, because in many states, they allow this above ground pool, they allow the sides to be the perimeter barrier. They allow the wall to be that isolation fencing. But that's really, we're finding out that's not safe. Even if you have an above ground pool and your Department of Health says, yeah, the wall of the pool is sufficient, that's your barrier, that's adequate to prevent someone from climbing into the pool. As water safety advocates and as people out there listening, as you consider above ground pools, we would strongly advocate for an isolation fencing. That is a 4-sided fencing that goes around the above ground pool with a self-closing, self-latching gate. So Rachel, you bring up a good point, but many municipalities allow that above ground pool to be considered safe, and they'll give you a permit for operation in your yard if you simply have those walls attain a height of 4 feet and you have a ladder, and the ladder's supposed to be removed when it's not in use. But yeah, that's one of the problems in an outdoor pool. It beats that isolation fencing requirement that most in-ground pools require.